Silent Pines Reserve had kept its secrets for over a century. Established in the 1960s on the site of an ancient Cree tribe settlement, it attracted not only tourists, but also paranormal researchers. According to the official version, the tribe abandoned these lands in the late 19th century due to harsh winters and poor harvests. However, the elders passed down a different story from generation to generation. One spring night, the entire settlement vanished without a trace, leaving behind untouched wigwams and extinguished hearths. Search parties found only strange footprints and inexplicable carvings on the trees. In 2018, the reserve was suddenly closed to visitors. The official reason cited was the need for ecological research and the protection of rare plant species. But local rangers whispered about strange occurrences, missing scientific equipment, unexplained surveillance system failures, and mysterious sounds at night.
Sarah had always felt that there were places in the world where people were better off not venturing. But her job at a travel blog demanded exceptional stories. The tale of the Silent Pines Reserve caught her attention a year ago when she stumbled upon a mention of ancient petroglyphs in a local history forum, depictions of a horned creature worshipped by the Cree tribe.
This is a great opportunity for exclusive material.
Sarah was convincing Ethan, her husband and a professional photographer, to go on this trip.
We'll just take a few shots and leave. No one will even notice.
On their way, they stopped at a small roadside cafe. When the waitress overheard their plans, she turned strangely pale.
It's breathtakingly beautiful there,
she said, but her eyes remained vacant.
Just don't go too far north. There's no signal.
The last rays of sunlight barely filtered through the dense pines as Ethan stopped their SUV near an old service road. The no entry sign was rusted and parts of the fence had collapsed. It seemed as though nature itself was inviting them in. The campsite looked perfect, a small clearing surrounded by ancient pines. Too perfect, Sarah thought, as if someone had prepared it just for them. While they were setting up their tent, Sarah noticed something strange. There were no birds, not a single sound, only the rustling of the wind in the treetops, but even that felt odd, as if someone were imitating the sound.
Ethan,
Sarah whispered.
And don't you find this silence strange?
He shrugged, continuing to drive the stakes into the ground.
Maybe the birds are just resting. At least no one will disturb our solitude.
The campfire was dying down, casting eerie shadows on the tree trunks. Sarah pressed closer to Ethan, trying to warm herself, but the cold she felt seemed to come from within. Suddenly, she noticed movement at the edge of her vision. Something tall and dark glided between the trees. It was then that they heard it for the first time, a low, vibrating sound, resembling chanting in an unfamiliar language. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The morning greeted them with a strange discovery. Around the tent, forming a perfect circle, lay freshly broken branches with the bark torn off. The bark bore symbols that seemed to have been scratched into it with claws. All their electronic devices had stopped working, not just drained, but as if they had burned out from the inside. Trying to find their way back, they stumbled upon the remains of a research station. The metal structures were rusted, but inside, everything looked as if people had left in a hurry. On a table lay an open observation journal, its last entry cutting off mid-sentence. The creature has appeared again. It is becoming more corporeal. We must. In the corner, they found a box of ancient artifacts, stone tablets with images of a horned creature, photographs of strange tracks in the snow, and an audio tape labeled Shamanic Chants, 1952. Continuing their search for an exit, they came upon an old Native American cemetery. The crooked wooden posts were covered in the same symbols as those on the bark. In the center stood a totem depicting the creature with horns and hollow eye sockets. The local shaman, who carved this totem centuries ago, had tried to warn his tribe. He had witnessed how hunger and despair turned one of the hunters into something else, a creature that began feeding not just on flesh, but on the souls of its victims. A creature that over time became a part of the forest itself. Sarah awoke to the sound of tearing fabric. Something was slashing at their tent from the outside, slowly, methodically. Ethan lay still beside her. He was in too deep a sleep. Through the slit, she saw it. The creature, its body seemingly woven from shadows and mist. Its horns scratched at the sky, and its eyes were windows to an abyss filled with hungry darkness. The creature leaned closer to the tent, and Sarah smelled it, a primal stench of decay and despair. It whispered something in a language that existed long before the first humans. Sarah screamed, and her scream woke Ethan. But the creature didn't disappear, as it often does in nightmares. It became more tangible, more real. Its limbs stretched, filling every inch of space around the tent.
Run!
Sarah screamed, grabbing her husband's hand. They dashed into the forest, but with every step, the trees around them grew more twisted, more unnatural. They were running through a forest that was no longer a forest. It had become an extension of the creature, its body, its domain. Dawn found them at the edge of a cliff. Behind them, the creature was slowly advancing, dissolving reality around it. Its eyes now glowed with a ravenous fire, and its horns seemed to graze the low-hanging clouds. And then Sarah understood. It wasn't just hunting. It was collecting souls, turning them into part of its grotesque forest. All the twisted trees around them. They had once been people. The creature took one final step toward them. Darkness consumed everything. A month after the disappearance of Ethan and Sarah, a strange letter arrived at their blog's office. Inside the envelope was a flash drive with a single photograph, a blurry silhouette of a horned creature among the trees. The search party found their car at the edge of the nature reserve. A waitress from a roadside cafe, upon seeing the location on the map where they were last spotted, paled and crossed herself. Deep in the forest, where birds never sing, 2 new trees appeared. Their trunks were strangely twisted, as if in an endless scream, and the bark was covered with symbols no one could read. The management of the reserve continues to deny any rumors about strange incidents, but the locals know. When night falls, the forest fills with the whispers of those who became part of it forever. And if you listen closely in complete silence, you can hear the whispers of those who became part of the forest forever.